Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here without co host Chip. He is trying to log in and not having any luck logging in. I was doing my audio checks and there were some garbly noises on the audio check. Today, we are going to talk about price manipulation. So, XRP market manipulation is the price being suppressed. That's one of the things that we're going to go over today. There's a bunch of other interesting articles that we want to get into. We want to dive into a bunch of great topics here. Namely, I do want to get into that part. There was I'm looking at some of the charts. There's so much conversation for I don't know the past couple years about price manipulation, market manipulation, and the question is that really happening? Is that really true? Stu Alderati had some really interesting commentary on Gary Gensler because, as an unelected official, an unelected bureaucrat, oh yeah, I guess he would be appointed. He's actually ignoring the courts, and there's a huge, huge player in the NFT space that we have to discuss and dissect. So, bunch of things, and there's also there's a nice video about the crypto enabled payments. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this little company called Ripple, little in crypto. There's this digital asset called XRP, if you guys haven't heard about it. And Ripple has actually developed an interesting cross border payment solution. There's a nice video that they put out, so we want to get into that. And the New York bit license. There's all sorts of great things that we want to talk about. I've kind of expanded on and elongated this introduction to this video, but let's get fired up. Let's get excited. Give a quick shout out where you're tuning in from. And without further ado, let's get this thing started. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome to On the Chain. So, you know what? What's really great is that the crypto space continues to expand, continues to develop, all sorts of real amazing things always happening here. Uh, and so, before we get into all these other interesting things, I want to dive right into the NFT space real quick. And I want to get into XRP. I want to get into Ripple. I want to get into all those things. I want to talk a little bit about the Stu Alderati commentary. And let me see, where did it go? I was just scrolling, and it's like it just disappeared. This article that I wanted to pull up. Oh, here it is. Okay. Now, this one, I'm going to pull this over into a side screen. And let's share this. Like I said, give a quick shout out where you guys are tuning in from. We're always interested to see exactly where you're from, and give a quick shout out to where you're tuning in from. It's always amazing to me at 8 p.m. We'll have people tuning in, from over in Europe, and it's like, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and all that is pretty impressive that people are going to tune in that late. Okay, let me pull this up. I just thought this was interesting because there's some people out there that have been kind of bad mouthing the NFT space. It took me a long time to wrap my head around NFTs in terms of from an artistic perspective. From day one, I've seen the long game of the NFT and what it can do as combined with smart contracts and the real world utility of it. But in the interim, there's so many amazing things happening within the art space. And you think of people putting so much time and effort into developing NFTs, similar to, you look at the Badass Yeti project that we put out, and we're working on that. And it took so much time, so much effort, so much thought process goes into every last detail of it. But from the authenticity perspective, and be able to authenticate each one of these items into the blockchain, is really changing the whole dynamics of how value can be traced right back to origin. And I have to tell you, really loving the whole concept and watching as things expand in this ecosystem. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because in the NFT space, you have big players that we've seen people dabbling. It's interesting. I was on the Manchester United app the other day, and they're using Tezos to start giving away NFTs. And I said, hey, these are great. They're giving these trading cards away, and you have to connect your Tezos wallet, and all of a sudden, there you go. Now you're getting these amazing graphics from Manchester United. But this one, everybody knows this name, and they're starting to get in this space. They're not just in the space, but they're in the Polygon space. So I'm going to pull this one up. This is Pokemon. So the official Pokemon NFT trading cards have hit Polygon. They're over at Matic. And this is, yeah, I think we're starting to see like kind of like a game changing transition period within the space. So you bring Pokemon, think about the element of the physical Pokemon card, the value that a lot of these official Pokemon cards have. And it's kind of mind numbing, when you look at the collectibles. I get it, people are into sports, memorabilia, and there's a lot of money in baseball cards, uh, in basketball cards, football, football, American, and I don't know if overseas if there's a big following on American soccer, football, everywhere else on the cards, but Pokemon cards have, you from, you go back a number of years and the value, the cost of these cards it could be, again, mind numbing. But here you go, they're getting into the space and launching their official cards. And think about again what this means to be able to register that. It now is becoming uh, traceable, trackable from beginning all the way through. I don't know what impact that could have on the gaming, but really, really impressive. Here's cards, PSA 9 grades from 2000 with valuations of $500. So here, according to Sammy.eth, the booster packs are randomized and initially cost $5 each. Some of them containing high grade cards and could be worth about 500. Each pack costs $5. Had a chance of receiving one of any pre-disclosed cards. A randomization is executed fully on chain for transparency. To purchase the packs, investors can use either stablecoin, obviously USDC, or a credit card. However, Sammy.eth says the packs now have a floor of around $50. To buy the pack, you could either use USDC on Polygon or pay with your credit card. Anybody with zero crypto knowledge could acquire the packs. Now, this to me is the direction that everybody has been waiting for the crypto space at large to move in. One of the one of the biggest obstacles within the crypto space is the difficulty in transacting and navigating the crypto space. So when you tell people they have to have, let's say, USDC, or and USDC is an easy one, but imagine you tell people, okay, you have to have Polygon, you have to have Matic in order to buy the Pokemon cards. It's going to exclude a certain segment of society that is going to find having to purchase Matic on an exchange that they might have to previously purchase. Maybe they have to buy a stable coin first, then they have to transact over to Matic. Then you have to have your Matic wallet. Then you have to connect your Matic wallet to the platform where you're going to be buying the Pokemon asset from. But in this scenario, being able to use a credit card and purchase and then own and kind of bypass the process. People that want to buy, they want to participate, they want to buy that Pokemon NFT asset. They want to bypass and they don't care about the technology that gets them from point A to point B. And I really think it translates. The reason again that I brought this up and the significance of this is because of mainstream utility. right? The fact that we're starting to see cryptocurrency gaining mainstream recognition and attention, even at the highest ranks of Congress. We're starting to see some bills take floor and are getting passed. But from a utility perspective to the mainstream, seeing the intersect of difficulty to people's desire to want to participate, and then simplifying. It's all about simplifying. And that's why, I looked at this. I'm like, oh my God, this is really, it's a big, big turning point when we see Pokemon hitting the NFT space. Big, big name coming to the NFT space, but then also bringing the difficulty down to anybody can participate by using a credit card. It really, it was really impressive. All right. So let's move on. There's a video here that I want to go through. There's an article that Wrath of Conman put up, and I was looking at this article. It's called "The Dynamic Relationship Between XRP Price and uh, Correlation Tensor Spectra of the Transaction Network." And so I was looking at this article, and super difficult to kind of read through it. Someone had said, "Hey, can you simplify this down?" And so I actually did that. And so we'll go over that here in a minute. But I do want to kind of reference a few things regarding trading volumes and price points and all of these other things. And so one of the biggest concerns that you hear from the biggest concern, but one of these concerns you hear from the communities is price manipulation. Is has the price point of um, of XRP been suppressed? Has the market at large been suppressed somehow? And there's going to be a couple different things that we're going to look at. And then another point that we looked at is that at the point of the outcome of Judge Torres defining XRP as a non-security, there was this anticipation that XRP would skyrocket and hit I think, many were expecting it to go over $1. But then what happened is that it kind of hit its plateau and then it settled back to where the market is. And people were really upset about that settle, where the market condition currently finds itself and the price point of XRP kind of settled back into where the market was, the trend, where all the assets kind of move and they kind of flow together. So I'm going to bring this up because I found it interesting when you kind of zoom back, you look at this, from almost a year point of view to see what happened when there was a definition of XRP coming from the court and defining it as a non-security. And so this is, to me, I look at this kind of a beginning step to where things have to go to. It was a positive sign. I think we all can agree that there was some massive positivity in the fact that the price point of XRP actually responded to positive news. The fact that XRP as an asset is deemed to be a non-security, what that means for XRP, but what that means for really the whole space at large. So let's pull this up. I want to pull up this chart, and when we look at it again, zoom back, and you see positive buy-in volume, right? So we see a lot of positive volume here, but look at this where we were in February, right? We're hovering kind of in this 40-cent space. We had seen some maybe there was some news here in April, not sure exactly where it was. Market conditions, market forces kind of settling in this kind of a range, 40 cents to 50 cents. I don't know if you guys remember kind of the pre uh, boom of 2018. So as we are coming through 2017, there was this point where XRP kind of settled into this spot where it maybe go from 19 cents up to about 27, 28 cents, back to maybe 19, 18 cents, back to 27, 28 cents. And it would kind of always hover in that space. The one thing that I find interesting across the board is that XRP as an asset has always found that comfort zone. It finds a spot, whatever the valuation might be, and then it always hovers within that small range. Whereas with if you look at like Bitcoin, massive changes in the price point of Bitcoin. It'd be interesting to put the two side by side and to see how when there's those changes within each asset, within each space, how does one kind of impact the other? But here's where we started to get into some outcome, right, of XRP. And if we're to look and say, okay, was there a reaction from the community at large? Did people feel more confident in the price point of XRP? And then this goes across the board with all digital asset, right? Where are where are people putting their money? And then what happens when there's a buy-in? Is there long-term hold? And if there's long-term hold and you're buying at a certain price point and you're buying, but few are going to sell, does that also then impact the overall volatility of the market? But here we go. We had some real positive reaction, moves the space, right? Again, it was hovering. I think if we pull further back, it probably dipped a little bit here. But let's say in that 40 to 50 cent price range, I think we might have hit maybe like 54, spikes up to about 81, 82 cents. That's the positivity, the news. XRP is not a security. And again, I think if we would have put this in comparative with the rest of the market, XRP at that moment in time was acting outside of market norm conditions. And then what happens is that it comes back and it settles back into its comfort zone. Is that a bad thing? Good thing? I'll let people that understand, much more in depth to explain it. But I would like to, on the next video, I'm going to go and do a cross comparative. I'd like to put one on top of the other and start looking at just overall market condition, market trend. Where do we stand? Is it being manipulated? Is there one entity, one force that's manipulating the outcome and the price point? There's some commentary out there on Twitter that there's specific wallets that might be manipulating. And I don't know. I'm just looking at very, very novice perspective of it and market trend, news, outcome, and then overall just market trend. Where are we as a financial market on a global scale? I know in the United States, the market conditions are becoming a lot more complex and difficult for a lot of people. Price point on things. We were just talking yesterday on how expensive everything is, and it's impacting everybody across the board, whether you're trying to get gas for your car, buy a new car, go to the grocery store, buy anything. The cost of everything has gotten out. If the cost of living has increased exponentially to whatever point that might be, people will have less disposable income to invest. And that's definitely going to have an impact on market conditions. Let people feel more confident in the markets at large. And I think we're going to start seeing a surge. That might not happen until 2024, 2025. But there's a high probability chance that when we see positive news from a political perspective, we're going to see massive positive news in the markets as well. So that's just kind of an observation that I had to talk about, had to bring up. I thought was really important, really interesting. But let me go into this one. Let me see, where did it go? I think I closed it. Let me reopen it. This came from Stu Alderati. Now,
play them in order, brother. Play them in order.
Going to they're going to kind of wind into each other. Yes, Jeff. I can hear you. I can hear
Jeff. You. Earth to Jeff. Hello, Jeff.
I can hear you. I don't think you can hear me, though.
I can hear you. Perfect.
Okay, cool. All right. So, yep. So, which one did you want to start with? Do you want to go into? I was going to jump right into the Stu Alderati. But I guess
well, there's a few of them in a row, so I would play them.
Yeah, that would be the first one. Well, that's the first
Okay.
one, then we'll get into the others, after that. And then we'll bounce back to this, study, the Wrath of Common put up. There's a study by Kyoto University was examining the XRP price during and after the 18 bubble and correlations. Uh, you know what? I'm gonna start with that one. I'm gonna pull that one up just for a second, only because it's I found it to be interesting, and complex all at the same time. So, and then we can get
Exact same
into
time.
some very, very complex and interesting. So let's pull this one up. Chip is having some technical issues. If you guys couldn't tell, he doesn't always look like a little tiny circle. So,
Usually, but no, it's just combination of internet and computer and just market forces, Jeff. I think Gary
yes, I
Gensler
think
has something to do with it. He's
I'm
infected
going
my
with Gary.
computer.
I think he did. I'm going with Gary. I'm going with the Gary impact. So, Wrath of Comment, thank you for putting this up. This is the recent study out of Kyoto University examining the XRP price during and after the 18 bubble and correlations. Most interesting, 2021 is the latest data. They identify a set of driver nodes during the bubble. Now, the one thing he references here is that these driver nodes in the article references these are not validators. These are actually referenced as wallets, not necessarily validators. So we get into this article, and we're not going to dive into the specifics in here. So here's the dynamic relationship between XRP price and the correlation tensor spectra of the transaction network. And we get into the graphs and the charts and the math behind it all. But I don't want to do that. What I do want to do as we're looking at this, so someone commented to the Wrath of Comments, said, can you please put this into ChatGPT and explain it? So I asked ChatGPT, I said, can you please explain this to me on a 5th grade level? So here's what it came out as. I didn't copy and paste. I'm just going to read it while you guys get to enjoy the beauty of this research study and some of these charts here. So, and here's the explanation. Okay, so there's this thing called crypto assets, which are like digital money that's different from regular money. People use them to buy things or invest their regular money in them. Crypto assets are a bit like a big puzzle, and some smart people are trying to figure out how they work. In this study, they're looking at one specific crypto asset called XRP. They want to see if there's a connection between how XRP is used in transactions and how its price goes up and down. Imagine it's like studying how people buying and selling XRP affects the price. They use something called the correlation tensor to do this. It's like a tool to see if there's a pattern or a connection between XRP transactions and its price. They look at data from 2 different times when XRP went to a really high, which they call a bubble, and when they didn't. They also look at how a few important nodes, which are like key players in the XRP transactions, affect the XRP market during these times. So in simple terms, they're trying to understand how the way people use XRP is linked to its price going up or down, especially during exciting times when prices get crazy. They use fancy math to do this, and it helps them learn more about crypto assets like XRP. So we lost Chip. I was hoping to get some comment from him on that. It gets really in depth. I thought it was interesting. What again? What we're starting to see here. We're starting to see mainstream. There's a lot of focus, lots of attention on what's going on in this space. It's not just within this community, not just the Bitcoin maxi community. If we went back 2017 and before, it was relatively new. You would see the media commentary come in to play a little bit. The 2017, 2018 was pretty much the big reveal. All right, Bitcoin skyrockets to 20,000. People start paying attention, goes over the edge, and goes back down to the like 3,000 or whatever. The whole space crashes over the cliff, and the community kind of outside of our community, like the mainstream community and media, kind of lost focus. They said, "Well, that's the end. It's going over the cliff," and it was a short term thing. Even though by 17 it had already been around for 7 years approximately. still super new. But the space kind of lost focus. I think we're starting to see this resurgence, not just, the FUD coming from the typical players like the Jim Cramers of the world that want to FUD or FOMO the space to manipulate markets, but we're starting to see real attention on a real space. We're not going to see these types of research studies like this pop up, and we're not going to see bills being passed through Congress because it's something that's not important. Because it's something that is going to be short lived. Now notice this. Whoa, big echo. Jeff, I'm getting echo on your side. I can hear myself through your speaker. Can't hear Chip though. He's feeding me into a speaker. I'm gonna remove you from it. All right. So, so this whole focus again, it's about mainstream adoption, mainstream attention to this space. Granted, this is coming from a research at a university. Very important. Notice in Japan has been kind of way ahead of the game here when it comes to XRP, when it comes to many different technologies. And so it's exciting. I'm more excited every day when we start seeing things progress, and so that's really great. Let's move over to our buddy Stu Alderati, and then we'll start moving down the list of great articles and get some commentary. If you guys have any feedback, this is a me kind of point here. Also, there's Chip just for this, and if nobody kind of there's a lot that might not have been here back in the heyday, Chip, for this beautiful segment that we recorded. I want to say this is probably back in maybe 2020. This is just, I think it was brilliant what we were able to put together here. I'm just going to play this clip. It's like a 5-second clip. Let me put it up. Then you guys can comment on it.
Awesome.
All right.
It's going swimmingly well. What a great
Man,
day, Jeff.
Yeah, it seems like you're having some difficulties over there. But all right, I'm gonna pull up this Stu Alderati. This is really great here. Great from a perspective of spot on great, not hey, we love this guy Gary that he's talking about. This guy is just hitting it out of the park consistently, and we love the fact that he's out there. All he does is brings fodder and attention. Maybe negative publicity is a good thing. But Stu Alderati said, what's most concerning to me and should be to you in this full video clip is the shocking admission of an unelected bureaucrat that he won't respect the decisions of the courts. And here we have none other than Gary Gensler. So here, SEC Chair Gary Gensler says, having U.S. securities law apply to crypto would only benefit and protect investors from fraud and manipulation. So let's see what he has to say in this video. And I'm realizing that I probably did not share audio. So we're going to start this whole process over again. We're going to go here and make sure that we are sharing audio. And let's get into this. So here we go. Here's our buddy Gary. Now, did the rules apply to him? Can he just, I guess he can say whatever he wants to say. He can have whatever opinion he wants to have. I mean, that's perfectly fine. You can have an opinion, but you're an unelected bureaucrat. You don't have the power to control and write laws. That's just outside of your scope. And I think he seems to have forgotten that. But let's see where we're at here. Let's see if this plays. Hopefully we can hear the audio.
The securities laws.
See, hopefully you guys can hear it. If you can't, just give me a sign that you can't hear it.
The securities laws apply to crypto security tokens, and there's nothing incompatible with those tokens with the securities laws. Investors still benefit from disclosure, and investors get to choose based on that disclosure. Investors benefit from laws against fraud and manipulation and other conflict in the markets. And we've just seen so many people hurt and lost their money, hoping for a better future. And there's so many hucksters and fraudsters in this field.
It's what Chip, what I find interesting. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. You hear me?
Okay. Yeah, yep, perfect. What I find interesting about his demeanor in this video is that he's taken a slightly different approach. He's trying to be kind of the buddy, right? He's trying to be the passionate, caring Gensler in this video. Just from the tone of his voice, if you didn't listen to the words he was saying, you just kind of hear the tone. He's trying to get this idea that he cares, that he's passionate, that he wants to protect, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? That's all. This is what it's all about. But then when you actually listen to his words, you start finding all the hidden meanings and his hidden intent. And in the short 44-second clip, his intent is very, very clear. He says that that these assets being a security are clear, but his intent, Chip, rings loud and clear. Let's play this again.
Well, hang on. Before you play it again, let me just chime in here.
Yeah.
So, so laughing when you're talking about, smiling when you talked about people losing their money and everything else, and you look back to the 2008, 2009 meltdown where it was protecting all the incumbents, where who wrecked the marketplace, who was buying bad paper, who was buying mortgage backed securities, right? Who was buying it? Well, everybody was, and everybody knew it was garbage, and everybody knew that it was junk, but it was playing the game. And then so this big financial institution sold it to this other one. And this is what what was the SEC doing back then? Nothing. So this whole idea of trying to create a straw man, which is this crypto community, which is evil and fraud, and he's going to help protect us. But when we look back at this, let's look at his face. And I see a guy that's been beaten, and I look at him like the interview that Jim D was talking about a little bit earlier in the comments and I think we have that video also where it's a little bit more, this is part of it, but when he's sitting there and he just doesn't know what to do or say. And this woman is about to just beat his ass. Like, she's asking him about what does he think about, the courts. What about the courts, Gary? And Gary doesn't give a rat's behind. He doesn't care. And so when you play this back, just look at his demeanor. He's a beaten man, right? He's beaten down. He's destroyed. But again, everybody wants to make this about, well, this is weird. Because I saw like Chris Larson come out and say, Chris Larson goes, yeah, it's really strange that the Biden administration wants everybody to move offshore. Well, no, it's not strange. It's not strange at all. If you look at the blue party's intent and what they're doing, they're trying to destroy everything, right? High taxes. I mean, it's just like, let's tax the serfs and the fiefdom and let's make everything, okay. And it's like, he's so shocked. Geez, we just don't understand why this is happening. I think the majority of the people watching right now know why it's happening. But again, watch Gary, watch his demeanor. He's beaten, Jeff. He's a beaten down man.
He's definitely beaten.
That case destroyed him. I'll play it back and watch his demeanor. Watch how he smiles and talks about people losing their money.
Yeah, that and to another point, before we play that back, and it's interesting you brought up where the blue team is going with things, what the intent is, what is his intent, who does he answer to, what is their objective from a financial perspective on control. But think about the outcome of AI. Think about how critical AI has become, how fast it's become critical, the development in the space, what it can do from this point forward, how fast it can, we've seen such rapid development in AI in the past 6 months. Imagine where we're going to be a year from now. But to that point, they're already gathering people together like Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, all of these characters, bringing them into rooms and talking about regulation and about the need to regulate the space. Now, what that really means is they want to slow down the development because there's small players out there, just like in crypto. There were small players. They're not the known high tech gurus, so to speak, like the Bill Gateses of the world. But we're seeing the same thing now in AI. And so across the board, they want to slow roll the development of the people, and they want to put the control back into the hands of the power players. And that this is a big part of it. But Chip, let's play this real quick. Here we go. And I'm going to stop it in different segments here.
The securities laws apply to crypto security token.
Right off the bat.
Security token.
Right. That's how crazy is this that there's no such thing as a crypto security token? Right, Chip? So if he starts this off, and this might have been a longer interview, but just from this clip, we already know this is going in the wrong direction. But look at his face. Look how he seems, like you said, he's been beaten down and demoralized, but he's holding to his belief. He's not letting it go. He's not going to relinquish. Chip, what do you think? Just in this one split second, what would you gain out of this before we listen to anything else or look at anything else?
Well, it reminds me an awful lot of the SEC v. Ripple complaint, where the very first paragraph, they called it a security token, XRP security token. And it's almost as if when he's saying it, when you're like being disingenuous and you're trying to remember something, but it doesn't really come from the heart, you have to try really hard to say the words, right? Memorization versus something that just flows out of you. And when he's saying that, this security token, first of all, there's nobody in the world that languages it like that, except for Gary. I haven't even heard it coming out of other, Gruwal, who's the chief enforcement officer. He may be, parroting that as well, but you don't really hear that much. But his whole thing about the security token, he's fighting the wrong battle. He's going to go down in history as one of the worst SEC chairs. And that's the part that I love the best, because he just keeps getting throat punched. And it's just glorious to watch, because he is a neutered little fool, and he's nobody. He's a Mr. Nobody, right? He was hoping to get a treasury job. He's hoping for something else. Look, Gary, take your 120 million that you flossed off the American people from your cronyism from your previous jobs. Good for you. You made some money, but now it's all about power, and he's going to make a mark. But Jeff, that train already left the station.
Yeah, I think so too. But you mentioned he's the worst. What's interesting about that statement is that all of the big unelected bureaucrats in the U.S. right now for this administration are the worst. Right? There's not one of them that you could spotlight and say, wow, these guys are the best, or they're average. These guys are what you would expect. The typical unelected bureaucrat has resumed this role. But every single one of them that's in charge of one of these agencies is the worst. I mean, it's crazy. But Chip, look at this. Look at his face expression. He goes from, he's kind of in this serious mode, but when he starts talking about the security token, look at the smirk. Look at the smile. Like, he knows it isn't true. He believes it is. Look at this smirk. A security token, and he's smiling about it. And he just got battered down over that fact. Look at this. Look at his eyes. His eyes are smiling. His mouth is. It's like he's laughing at the fact that he knows it's not true. He knows it's not. It's insincere, but yet he still believes the shit that he's spewing, or he wants people to believe it. I mean, it's crazy. So let's start this one over, because it's such a short clip, and we'll stop it again.
The securities laws apply to crypto security tokens.
You had to remember it, Jeff.
Incompatible with those tokens, with the securities laws.
There's nothing incompatible with the securities tokens with the securities laws.
But do you see how he's trying to remember it, Jeff?
Yeah.
He's trying to remember. He's like, say this right, don't say it wrong. You know what's incompatible? Gary Gensler's incompatible with the human race. Okay, he's been discarded because he's incongruent and he's out of step with everybody else. But he's like, okay, say this right. The securities laws, yes, Gary, and you're hanging on his next step. Jeff, there's another better video of him that I threw in the keep there.
Yeah,
It's a longer one where he gets beat down. It might be say like download this video if you just search for that in there.
yeah, I'll get that one. Okay, but yeah, let me just finish this point here, and this is where it kind of ties everything. You know exactly from this next statement the direction that he's moving with this thing. Watch.
Investors still benefit from disclosure, and investors get to choose.
What does he mean by disclosure? He's also a big proponent of the whole ESG thing, right? And he wants disclosure, you know.
Well, of course he is, Jeff.
So his subterfuge of disclosure, because there is disclosure. We know what's going on more or less. There's a lot of transparency in the crypto space, and we've just seen. I think one of the last look at investors benefit from laws against fraud and manipulation. There's laws against fraud and manipulation. Look how serious he is now. The intent, the look, the passion, and the caring, how much he cares about people from being protected of fraud and manipulation. But he knows very, very well that all these banks, all the big banks, have all recently paid massive amounts of money. Talking about recent, it could be in the past 10 years. The past 10 years, the same amount of time that cryptocurrency has been around, banks have paid billions upon billions upon billions of dollars because of fraud and manipulation. Some of them got caught out because they were creating fraudulent accounts for people. Others were getting caught because of manipulation.
Well, Jeff, let me just, the whole system is geared towards, once you get in a groove, if you're a financial institution, you're a bank, you're like, hey, you weigh your options. We pocket 90% of the money, we get caught, we pay 10% fine. Okay. And it's set up so that it benefits. So we've got two tiers of justice. I don't want to get too crazy down the rabbit hole political here, but it is two different things. Look at Ani says there's a thing called a narcissistic smirk. It's a thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
There it is right there. She also says he's half human,
right,
half rodent, which I don't know. I think you're giving rodents a bad name right there. I don't know. It might be, Dirk says he needs a whole new mouth. Mark Smith's in fecal matter, is Gary there, and then halitosis. That's why the lady backed off a little bit, but that's a whole other system. But yeah. So, and it just I just had to laugh at this Gary Gensler. He's still trying to he still thinks that he's gonna win. He's not gonna win. He's not gonna come close to winning.
No.
Give it up, Gary. The biggest thing that ever happened is XRP is not a security. Right. And everybody else. And it was so difficult for people in the community to understand, attorneys, where they're like, well, sometimes it's a security and sometimes it's not. It's like, Jeff, the weird part about it is that everybody watching right now knows more about security laws and how it applies and how they understand the differences between how it's a security and how it's not a security according to Howie. Like, we didn't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole, but we were kind of pulled down that rabbit hole, boat anchors tied to our feet, and then boom, down the rabbit hole because we had to educate ourselves. And people misunderstood the 4 prongs of Howie. You had Bill Hinman under oath saying, well, I thought just any of the prongs. I mean, we know that he doesn't really believe that any of the prongs apply. So there might be another video in there too where I think there's one in there somewhere.
We had something from Deaton here. Spend the bits. I'm drilling down. We have a video here from Ripple with Ripple's Aaron Sears. I kind of
it's
that in the beginning.
It's Gensler, a longer one, because I wanted to get into it when he talks about. Actually, go to where it says Hogan.
I got it.
In there.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of them that kind of comment on that same video. But if you play that video part of it, this right here just goes to show you, Ani nailed it. Narcissistic, right? Believes this is a true definition of a narcissist. He's above the courts. He's above everybody. He's the chief. I mean, we had the supreme leader of the XRP community, self-anointed, which was our buddy over there, BitBoy, now Ben Armstrong. Now, this is the supreme leader of all things. He's above the courts. He's above the people. He's above the kings and the queens. It's King Gary.
King Gary. I think he likes the sound of that, or maybe Prince Gary and his principality, but I think he wants to be king. So Jeremy Hogan put this up on his tweet. Let's just then we'll play the video. Jared Gensler, the crypto space is full of hucksters and non-compliance. That was the last end part of the video that we watched prior. Question here: would anything a court says change your mind, Gensler? Well, no, not really. What a nut job! But the point is, he's entitled to his opinion. So if he thinks the court's wrong, that's your opinion. But stop talking about it. You can't keep referencing stuff in the public sphere, like in terms of government. You can't talk as though it's policy. It's opinion. He needs a premise. This is my opinion. I disagree with the court. That's what he should say. But he makes his statements as though it's fact. And that's super problematic. But let's see what we got here. Hopefully this plays nicely. Let's see what our buddy Gary, where is he sitting? Like in a refrigerator or something?
I think he's standing, Jeff. He might be in the halls of the SEC.
Look at that. It's like a steel thing with like blackout curtains and everything. Maybe he's underground.
It's the hallway of something.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Let's see what he says.
And so nothing any court would say would change your mind on that.
I wish something a court could say, which would actually bring the compliance sooner.
And so nothing any court would say would change your mind.
Jeff, that made absolutely no sense. He wishes that he's like, well, no, not really. But he wishes the court, listen to this. He's so lost in this interview. He's so beaten down. This lady's towering over him. She's just owning him, and she's saying like, well, so nothing the courts would say. He's like, the courts would bring it in. When have you ever seen Gensler? He was a disaster in those hearings. Sir, what I'm saying, answer the question, yes or no, Gensler, yes or no. Well, what I'd like to say, and he says, do you like the courts to bring it into compliance? I'm sorry, what? The courts to bring it into compliance? Like she's asking you what the courts rule. Hello, Torres ruling July 13th. Anything the courts would say, I ignore all that. And now, Jeff, if you want to tie this back to a geopolitical sphere, who else does that? Now, the administration of the U.S. was caught censoring, was caught going to particular, and I'm tying this back so that it'll make sense, was caught going, and they're not supposed to be able to go, the U.S. can tell a private company to go censor or deplatform somebody. They were caught red-handed doing it, right? It escalated through the courts, and they were found to be, in the wrong. You know what the administration did? They're fighting it because they want to fight for the right to censor. And if you got to be kidding me, you lose that thing, you walk around with your tail between your legs. Oh no, the courts got it wrong. No, we need to be able to censor people. We need it, and this is exactly what's going on here. This is the thought pattern of and again, I bring it back to this all the time. Liberalism is a mental disorder. These people think they're holier than you. They think they're better than you. They think they're more superior in every single way because their thinking will help you with your life and they're going to protect you. He's going to protect us and protect everybody. It's pathetic.
That's interesting. And to these points, Jim D brought up an interesting comment here. It's pretty obvious to me that governments and central banks are all deliberately destroying their own currency to force an emergency to need to put up a new money system. Velocity of money is key, digital crypto. And it does seem like there's more and more transition in that direction. The other point to all of this, and he even talked about being able to, they want all of these companies, they're not asking for transparency, but they do want to regulate and control the outcome, the direction of these companies, and they want to direct and control your participation. If they can digitize the money and they can now control your outcome, we're in trouble. We really are. based, if you look at individuals like that, it's really scary, to what Jim D is talking about. But man, Chip, this guy just bothers me so much that
Yeah,
he's
well,
still
listen, I
out
mean,
there. He's still talking,
yeah, but he's rendered himself irrelevant. I mean, even in this interview, it's not compelling. Like, even Gary Gensler from months ago, he was like really shrewd and come in
Mm,
and talk, and you just have to come in and
yeah.
register, and then we'll come.
Oh yeah.
Like that was a very forceful one. Now that the
Yep.
Gensler we have today, he's very neutered. He's very, he's very soft-spoken now, and he wants the courts to bring it into compliance. In other words, the courts ought to think like Gary Gensler and all the enforcement officers over the SEC, even though it doesn't jive with actual, 42, 43, security laws, 46, Howie. But he wants to bring people into compliance translation. He wants to bring people into his way of thinking.
Yep. That's right. And then Chip, do you remember this guy? Do you remember
Oh, that
MIT
was
Gary?
MIT Gary. Well,
MIT
MIT Gary
Gary?
was different. He was a little bit
MIT
different, wasn't
Gary.
he?
He was kind of cool back then. Look at him, dressed all in black. He wasn't like hiding in his living room basement or whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is when he thought. And again, this was him pining for the SEC job. He was already the CFTC, chair. Now he wanted to move over to the SEC.
Mhm.
He knows full and well. They all do, Jeff. They all know better. But play this clip because this is hilarious as how he talks about XRP being a bridge token.
That in seconds it
Oh,
won't
it's
move.
not loud. Probably can't hear it. This one's super low. Hang on. See if you can hear it.
That in seconds it won't move as much, and the friction.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't. You know what I'll do? Why don't we do this, Jeff? I'll boost it for
Better.
tomorrow's show. We'll
Yeah,
play it tomorrow
I'll play
night
that one
because
tomorrow.
I can run it through my booster program.
Yeah.
But essentially, what he's talking about there is talks about essentially you buy dollar, you have the fiat currency transfers and XRP goes back out, and you're able to move it. And he was also talking about the fact that it's more stable that way. I think what he was trying to get at was the fact that because the transaction is quick, you don't have the the market effects going on
Right.
with it. But it's so weird how he talks about XRP. You even hear him mention XRP, bridge token.
Yeah.
So what he's doing here, and I would just, in court, I would just throw this up there and say, well, that's weird because you looked at the utility of the token before, but now you talked about it doesn't have any utility. I'd put this on a giant screen. I'd flash it on one of those wall side screens when you go to court. Your Honor,
Yeah.
listen to Gary Gensler because it's weird how his thinking was that there was actual utility around the token, and he played the one where he goes, "There's no utility. They're all scam tokens." And what they're
Yeah.
trying to do is beat back, and I think Jim D really nailed this. They're trying to beat back the something that's not going away. The crypto decentralization is the biggest threat overall.
Yeah.
That's the problem that they're ultimately having.
Well, which is why they're So they get hit with crypto. Now they're getting hit with AI. Look at how fast ChatGPT, Midjourney, I don't know. There's a whole slew of them out there. Have developed over the past 6 months to a year. A year ago, we weren't anywhere near where we're at today. It's transacting so quick. Again, like I mentioned earlier, now they're trying to regulate and control it because it's out of their power. It's giving people tools to do things at such a rapid pace that they don't like it. Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, a lot of them who are relatively irrelevant in the next generation of tech are trying to make themselves relevant again. All they're trying to do is control, power, money, manipulation. Those are two characters that have definitely been involved in manipulation outside of tech. Zuckerberg trying to manipulate political outcome in the last election cycle, and Bill Gates manipulating all sorts of things on a global scale when it comes to food product and so-called vaccinations on a global
Well,
scale. And you would hope that they were trying to get involved to actually help people. But it's just interesting. But I guess the point is they bring these guys in to talk about regulating AI, and they're super, they're fans of it. They want to bring it into check, just like crypto, because again, it's in the
Yeah.
hands of the few or the
Well, I think
masses.
part of that too. I mean, part of that too, that conversation too, is that AI also renders these people irrelevant, right?
Right.
Somebody like it is, I mean, Jeff, like you take an article that's really super complex, you can take a paper, you can put it into, um, Bard or ChatGPT. You can say, explain this, blah blah blah. Give me a summary paragraph, and it'll go through there. It's not always right, but for the most part, it can rip through something. I'll take a YouTube video that's very complex and multiple speakers, and now there's a plugin where I can click on it. I can say, give me a summary paragraph, and I want 10 bullet points of this speaker, and it will tell me like right then, and it'll tell me exactly what location it's at, and then I can go watch it if there's something relevant that I want to see. So we're at a point where the information, where the so-called internet, when they called the algorithm, called it the information highway. Well, that information highway truly has a better home in AI, because it's not really artificial intelligence so much. It's not thinking for you. It's trained on large language models, where it's fed a bunch of data points, whether it's image, whether it's video, and can reconstruct it. So, but it's all based on the fact that it's not really doing any thinking per se, but it's just based on the training. It's in the model. It's good as the model it's trained on. GPT-3 versus GPT-4 was four is a big advance. Then you got the only really goodwill and good work that I see happening in this space right now with Meta is they're actually doing some stuff, and their new product is pretty amazing. It almost feels like they're doing more advancement in the AI space. I still don't think the metaverse part's going to really take off, but I do think other pieces of the AI tech that they're working on probably could have some grounds. But if you tie all this back, look at Voice of Ireland says everybody's complaining about the price of XRP, but nobody has money to put in crypto anymore. Retail doesn't have anything to spare, And then Jim D says, yeah, the peasants are now at regard credit card debt of 1 trillion in the U.S., trying to cover the basics. And so it's just
and it's crazy, Chip. It's out of control.
It's a constant struggle back and forth, tying it back to Jim D's comment when he went back to the whole idea of this. The best thing and worst thing that happened, the pandemic, right? In order for it to be classified a pandemic, there needs to be a 10% uptick in deaths. And there was a pretty high uptick in deaths. I think 2019. Don't quote me on it, but actually before, but not actually during the years we called the pandemic. But what it did was it forced their hand. So the WEF, World Bank, all of these so-called governing bodies, self-anointed, they anointed themselves supreme leader. It forced their hand, and it woke a lot of people up, because people said, whoa, hang on a second. You're taking, I can't go to church anymore. I can't go to temple. You just can't take away, but they did, and they restricted it, and you saw what happened, how it happened, and then they all, again, comes back to the SEC of trying to protect us. We don't need your protection. Provide for the common good, provide for the common defense, and that's it. Government in this country was meant to be limited, and it's so massively out of control. There's way too many governing bodies, and that's why I see that. That's where I see Orange Man Bad coming in, and I see the central bank being destroyed. And when it topples in the U.S., it's gone everywhere. This is the big threat. When the central bank, Trump will pull an Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson got rid of the second central bank. The third one's going by the wayside. And we have a true sovereign currency that's not based on debt and is fully transparent and hopefully blockchain based, or at least decentralized. We're going to be rolling to, Jeff.
Right. That is very true. I was looking at something you were bringing up. People are referencing cost of gas, which is on purpose for the most part, as there's this massive push towards electric vehicles. We're seeing the big three automotive, maybe it's only the big two now, just Ford and General Motors, because in the U.S. market, whereas Chrysler doesn't exist anymore. It's now Stellant. I think Stellant's based out of Italy or France. But within this, we're seeing the biggest losses in the space right now are electric vehicles for Ford and General Motors. I think Tesla's doing well. I think if you go over to China, they're pushing really, really strong with their electric vehicle platforms. But to the point, and I kind of brought this up, but electric vehicles, the cost, if you go get a regular, like if you average out cost of a regular gas powered car here today, probably around $48,000 plus or minus. An electric vehicle, probably around 64,000. So there's definitely, a big variance in the price point of the electric vehicle. There are some that are coming at the lower price points. Some of them are people don't want them. These vehicles that can come in, and there's some cars like the Chevy Bolt that comes in around under 30,000. There's a Mazda MX-30 around 34,000, but nobody wants these cars, So it's just crazy to me, what is the actual direction that they are trying to force everybody into. But on a side note, Chip, you would put this one up. This was a Ripple video I thought would be interesting to get into. And this was Ripple's Aaron Sears makes the case for crypto-enabled payments in his latest Crypto in 1 Minute. And this goes back to moving away from the geopolitics and the chaos of what's going on to the development in the space. And, this is what can't be stopped. This definitely can't be stopped. Progress in technology. Try to take the politics out of the company, I think would be beneficial, but let's get into at least the technology aspect of it. See if this is going to be loud enough.
I've been known to be long-winded with my storytelling, but I feel I can pull it together today. Hi, my name's Aaron Sears, and this is Crypto in a Minute.
Man, there's almost like Gary Gensler's office hours, Chip.
It does have that little music in the background.
Yeah, I wonder
It's so
if
funny, like who actually did it first? It's like Crypto in a Minute and Gary Gensler. The Gensler office hours, the actual graphics are I like it, but unfortunately his part of it. It's interesting, Jeff. I don't think we've ever seen Aaron Sears, the chief financial officer. And you think about the role of a chief financial officer in an organization, big, heavy burden, a lot of regulation. There's a lot to know, and so it's pretty cool that they're putting him in the Crypto Minute.
Well, it's good too, because here's the search is how can CFOs use crypto-enabled payments? This will be interesting. All right, here we go.
So I'm the CFO, and it's my job to actually manage cash for my company, and part of that is actually moving money across borders. Today, the legacy solutions involve pre-funding accounts, using the legacy wire system that can take 3 to 5 days to settle, and an opaque system where the status of my payment is really not known during the course of its journey. All of this can be super expensive, especially when you talk about tying up that working capital in the pre-funded accounts and having a team of accountants to help top up those balances on a constant basis. With the crypto-powered solution, you have instant settlement, so there's no need to pre-fund. There is 24/7 availability, so wire cutoff times are a thing of the past. There's tremendous transparency, so you can monitor the status of your payment at any point in time. And all of this leads to a much lower cost and a much happier CFO.
Dude, he did a good job.
Awesome.
He hit all the key pain points, which is really amazing. One of them is, they're better than Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler is a pain point, but managing cash flow, Chip, I think is really critical. Moving money cross borders, but it's not just about cross borders. It's just moving money in general. I think, we start having, lots of issues, but cross border, legacy solutions in pre-funding accounts, massive issue. 3 to 5 days of settlement, but that's a reality whether you're sending across border or it's happening, even domestic. There's still, you might have the fiction of the money being present, but many times they're tying it up for for 3 to 5 days because real settlement hadn't happened yet. Or if you deposit a check, it can be held for like 10 days. I've seen like, just in the past week, I've had all of these things happen to me. I've had delay in settlement, in receipt of payment. I've had checks deposited that have been held for 10 days. I've had, uh, you know, lack of transparency in terms of the payment processing. Uh, I've had, you know, zero knowledge of what was happening during the course of the journey, and also the expense. So I had, some, somebody that wanted to pay a very large bill with a credit card. And you think about the
Yeah.
cost, the simplicity of it. Hey, it's easy. Give me your credit card and I'll put your $100,000 on the credit card. That's great. That's 3.5%. Those are
Have I
big
have,
numbers. And we're not talking about
I have to s-
ACH or the other things either. We're talking about the only ways to do things now are just super inefficient.
I have to say he might be the most coherent person that I've actually heard from Ripple. I mean, in a good way though. I mean, the guy's like spot on about exactly what it is. He's just saying he's
Mhm.
like, I'm long-winded in my storytelling. Well, dude, you nailed that like pretty succinctly, right? It
Yeah.
was like bing, it was like, I don't know, I got some weird hair going on. I don't know what's going on with my hair. It's all like mannequin hair today, but
Crazy.
it's like
Come
one
on,
of those
dude.
mornings where you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and everything's crazy and like the internet's not working right. And so you're working off your phone and holy cow, man. I Gary Gensler clown hair. When he had hair, it looked like this, Jeff. It was all kind of crazy and nutty. I don't know what's going on, but I
Dude,
just think I go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Lost my thought. I was talking about something
Uh,
there, but I know we kind of
I think
came out
you're
of
talking about
time
your
there.
hair.
So good job running the most of the show there. But yeah, we'll be back again tomorrow night. We'll be back tomorrow night, right, Jeff? It was a week before we've done a show. Yeah, I think the last show we did was last Sunday. But I want to talk a little bit about the Badass Yetis because we everything's uploaded, everything's ready.
Oh,
Final
yeah.
preparations being made, but we're rolling out 1,445 of the White Tribe. Now, here's the good thing: if you have a Blue Tribe member, let's say, because there are a lot of people, which was so gratifying to us, that went out and bought 4 or 5 Yetis. Some of them collected all of them, and you're gonna, as a way to say thank you, Jeff and I, when we roll out the White Tribe, you're gonna get 1-to-1. So if you own 5, you're gonna get 5, and a snapshot will be taken. I feel like we're like doing an airdrop, Jeff. It's like the
But we're not.
snapshot will be taken on this date and time, but the reason is we have to have a cutoff period for the actual snapshot because otherwise you can't manage it. You need a list to work off of to be able to allow that. And because we're working with XRP.cafe, and those guys are really setting this up for us and making it easy because otherwise it would be a nightmare to try to do this. So we're really excited about it. But Jeff and I, we've been really working hard this past week with the final preparations and doing it. And we have a whole new, like Jeff mentioned earlier in the podcast, we have a whole new way to look at this because you realize the amount of effort, the time, the work, the prep, even on the technical side, the JSON files, uploading the JSON files, IPFS, that storage out there, that IPFS, which is your, what does it stand for? Interplanetary file system, where it's on the blockchain. And then they have a backup one, which is called Arweave. And you have to buy Arweave tokens. And then you buy the Arweave tokens and it allows you to store that up on the internet. And so these badass blue Yeti Tribe, if you do have one, if you're thinking about buying one, if you were going to get one, once we take the snapshot, we'll give you a little more details on this. But once we take the snapshot, it'll get 1-to-1. So if you already own one, awesome. We're going to let you know because you're going to be able to go there and mint one of the White Tribe members. And the White Tribe is amazing. We've got 10 different. You could probably, Jeff, go to that tweet. If you find the tweet that we put on the Badass Yetis, it has all the White Tribe there. But as you're doing that, and I'm talking about it, but the Badass Yetis, again, it started off as a joke on this channel. Jeff and I were talking about what would be the most elusive coin if we were to make a coin. If OTC were to have an actual coin, what would it be? And we started surmising that, well, elusive, under the radar, or maybe, and this was goofing around a couple years ago. We said, well, of course, it'd be the Yeti coin because the Yeti is elusive. Nobody really knows much about the Yetis, and they're kind of like in the Himalayan mountains, but people have seen them, but nobody really knows their ways. And that's what morphed into this project called the Badass Yetis, which will have another evolutionary term very soon, which we'll clue you in on. But Jeff, let's go ahead and take everybody through these. You can probably starting with
That's one of the guardians.
Is that all of them? Because I think for some reason there's yeah, they're not in order. You got to go back to the original one. I think. Click on the first one. Click on that one there.
This one.
Yeah, click on that one. There you go. Okay.
Yep. So this is one of the guardians. The guardians guard the elders. And then what you'll notice is similarity of the guardian to the elders. The elders, hopefully we'll get down to the elder. You'll see some of the similarity and trait between them. The Tempest, these guys are badass. Look at the craziness in their eyes.
They're fighting, Jeff. They always got fists blazing. They're ready to hit you, man.
The Brutes, they're not as developed as some of these other guys. You know, they're a little more Stone Age-esque, but they're pretty tough.
Furlough brow. Got the big old brow.
The Ash Yetis, these guys, the Ash Yetis, and you'll see the Fire Yetis kind of live in the same area, more or less. And there's some of the Fire Yetis. The Ash Yetis are always in the ashy, coaly area, so they're always a little bit dirty. Then you got the Fire Yetis. These guys
they
are
can throw
badass.
fire, Jeff. Look at that.
The eyes. You got the little prowlers. These guys are more like the forest dwellers. You're not going to find them in the rocky parts of the mountains, more in the forest parts of the mountains. And then here's the elder. So there's only 7 elders, and these guys are pretty kick-ass. But you'll notice that going back to the guardians at the top, the guardians guard the elders. It's a private, but you can see there's like the miniature version of the elder, before they grow up and get massive like this. And the elders, obviously vie for position to lead the tribe. Then we got the ass kickers. These guys are small, badass. You wouldn't expect because they're nice and fluffy and furry, but you don't want to run into them on a deserted, snowy plain. And then these guys are the comic relief, the yuck yucks.
The yuck yucks. The funny thing about the ass kickers is like they can wield a sword. That sword is a heavy, steel sword, but they can move that sword around like nobody's business. Yep. Tremendous arm strength, and it's incredible. The yuck yucks, you guys are gonna love. They're fun. They're just funny. They're goofy. They've got the comic relief. They're pretty. They have their own thing, but they don't really carry around weapons and stuff. They're kind of like the jesters, right? If you think about the jesters, the court jesters, they're kind of like that.
Think like Captain Caveman, and then that's what you get.
Captain Caveman. Captain Caveman. Great baby.
And then the bandits. The bandits are kick-ass too. Look at that. Mean. These guys are mean.
Yeah, they ripped that sword in you, man. That sword's already seen some better days, man. It's already just like.
Yeah. So anyhow, so this is these guys are uploaded. They're getting ready to go. We'll soon know, kind of have a target date. And then, as a thank you to all of our supporters, if you have a blue tribe NFT, we're going to be giving you 1-to-1 one of these white tribe Yetis when they launch. So we're excited about that. Keep it in the ecosystem. And that's going to be 2 of the 4 tribes that we've predicted so far. So we have the blue tribe, the white tribe will soon be live and living in the NFT space and posted all over the Discord. And then we will also then have the black tribe and the purple tribe. And so that'll round out the Badass Yetis. And we have some rebranding of the whole badass space that'll come into play soon. And then don't forget about Badass Yetis Coffee. If you ever wanted to find a way to say, hey, I really love On the Chain showing up here when we do live streams, really, really critical for us because we love to have you guys here. It's really important. And you guys really mean a lot to us. We appreciate you being here, the best and the brightest in all of YouTube space. But also check out the Badass Yetis Coffee. The link is below. You can check that out. The coffee is really, really good. There's, from really strong to kind of a lighter bodied coffee. You can get it pre-ground or beans and grind it yourself, which is really awesome. And man, that's Jib, I can't say enough. But join us back here tomorrow night, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then again next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some more great, for some more great badass Yetis, but for some more great on the chain. A lot of good, cool things to talk about. But, and there you go. Chip just threw that out there. Check this out. Use code Public Square 20 for a 20% off the Badass Yetis coffee. Bam. Look at that.
Public SQ20 for 20% off. If you guys don't know what Public Square is a pro, I'm trying to think of the best way to do it. It's a pro small business, right way of thinking. Let's put it that way. Type of website. Badass Yetis are listed over there. So that's Public SQ20. Get 20% off the Badass Yeti coffee. And it comes in 4 different flavors. If you're looking for K-Cups, we do have K-Cups available for the Brewed Awakening. Brewed Awakening is a breakfast blend, and the breakfast blend is so funny because Gary, one of our OTC family, he's tried them all, and he's like, you know what, man, I like them all. The brewed one is a little bit, if you're more into a darker roast, you're gonna really like the Obsidian Bold, which is a dark, sort of an Italian roast type of coffee. And then the Noir Symphony is a 6-bean blend, but it's also a dark roast. I oscillate between these two. They're always like, this is my favorite. Oh no, this one's my favorite. So it depends on the flavor, but they're both amazing. And the Mountain Mist as well is also good too. That is, it's got a nice flavor. It's kind of in between. It's more of a medium. And then you got our Badass Yetis Brewed Awakening. And if you come in here, you can of course select the K cups, but you don't have. We don't have an image for it, but that's what it is. That's what it is, people. That's what it is. Who's going? The proper party is next Friday, guys. I don't know who's actually going. I know a bunch of people are going, but
yeah, whoever's going, it's awesome.
Awesome, yeah, awesome. Good for you. Awesome.
Yep. So that's all we got. And we'll check you guys out on the next one.
Check you guys out on the next one. You ready to get out here, Jeff?
Let's go.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.